Welcome. So how are you today? Andrew?
I'm very well, thank you.
Cool.
How are you? Are you again ready to get tested?
What do you mean? Oh, my patience, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I guess
Okay.
what did I? Okay, so you know what I forgot. So we usually have like the teaching Thursdays, here on my left. Um,
Yeah.
oh, hello, Didi. Hi. So we usually have homework as the first thing, but we don't have that now. But
Yeah.
we'll still do the homework anyway. So let's just start with that anyway.
Okay.
So let's see. What was your homework?
My homework was to read
Oh yeah.
the.
Okay.
I didn't have any exercises because
Mhm.
you said that it might be a bit tricky for me
Mhm.
to keep going.
Okay.
So you told me to read about monads. You gave me a 5 minute video
Mhm.
and
And I thought that
an
yeah.
article. Yeah.
Oh, in the article. Yeah. Mhm. Okay. So go ahead then. Why are you tasting my patience then?
I mean,
Or how are you tasting my patience rather?
I'm testing your patience just by not understanding what you're
Okay.
telling me.
Cool. So
Okay, no, I'm just joking. But I think that both the video and the article were very helpful.
okay.
But I still don't don't feel like I got it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so let me explain. The way that people okay, so let me give you a bit of context here. So monads are the thing that I think I told you this last time, but I'll repeat it now anyway. Are the thing that like most people get into FP because right, because like they hear, oh, I heard about this thing called monads. Well, what are they? And they come to like FP chats and like they tweet it and whatever, and then people start to like long conversations about what a monad is. So I don't think anyone is expected to understand what a monad is from the beginning, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So don't worry about it. It's very normal. Like if you came here today and told, I understand monads perfectly. What's next? I would probably not believe you.
Okay.
Right? So just because you're saying that you don't get it, you probably get more than you think, right?
Yeah.
Because like it means that you can understand some parts of it and do not understand other parts, which is great, right? Because it at least means you
Mm-hmm.
understand some parts.
Yeah.
And you'll see, but like the thing that I want to emphasize here is that you will find like monad is just a monad in the category of event functors. What's the issue? Yeah, exactly. Like people, like there's so many different ways to define a monad, and some of them are like useless, like the one I called which just put in chat. Like that could be useful for somebody who knows a lot of category theory or math, right? Whereas for somebody who doesn't, that definition is absolutely worthless, right?
Yeah.
And even for somebody who knows math very well, they even by understanding that line doesn't mean that they understand how to use it, right? Like how do they work in practice? What are some examples of monads? What are some things that are counter examples? And they like monads don't exist for those types and so on, right?
Yeah.
So I think the thing that we should do is so I've shown you a few examples of what we can do with like maybe as a monad, and I'm not sure. I think I maybe might have shown you some examples with either as well. Yeah, right. So we've done some example with maybe and either. And now we'll jump to the maybe one of the most interesting examples, which is effects, right? So let's just get into it.
Okay.
So what are effects, or what's effect? Let's open up a new file here. Part 8. Okay, so what's the deal here? So you're probably typical Twitter joke. There's no such thing. So okay, until now we've probably noticed that we've kind of not even mentioned a few things that you've probably used to by writing programs in other languages. We've never talked about variables. Right?
Yes.
Like we never defined a variable, we never mutated a variable, right? We never changed its value. Right,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
let me actually so we never talked about right variables. Actually, let me use a single line because it's gonna be annoying otherwise. We never talked about like reading or writing to console or files, right? We never talked about like I don't know, doing like SQL or web or etc. Right? And the reason we never talked about these things is that they are actually, I don't want to say hard, but they are different than how you do with. I'm sorry, I don't have today bot command. I think actually the bot is not even on, so let me turn it on. But even if it was on, we wouldn't have that command. So chat, is he teaching? So yeah, I'm teaching someone. As every Thursdays, I'm teaching Andrew Purescript from pretty much scratch, and this is what the eighth lesson, I think.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. And they're all uploaded on YouTube except the last one, which I was too busy to upload, so I will upload both today and last week's lesson soon. Okay, so yeah. So okay, I was thinking, okay, so we don't do that because basically the thing is in pure. So we're now working with I'm not sure if I've mentioned this, but we're like Purescript and Haskell, and there are others, but these are the most known examples. Are pure functional programming languages, right? So functional, I guess we kind of looked at what functional means until now, right? So functional means we work with functions, right? So like we work with functions, we define functions, classes, types, and so on, right? Pure typed, I guess we could say, right? Typed because we have types, right? Types, etc., right? But pure means that we cannot do, like we cannot have this sort of thing, right? We cannot create variables, we cannot do this like in any way, I should say. Or rather in a, like as you'd expect, right? Because for example, if you were doing like C or whatever, in C you could say something like int main. Of course, this won't compile here, right? But you could do something like this, and you could do like printf hello, right, or whatever, and you could write files and whatever else, right? But like this thing actually, it's kind of like lying, isn't it? This function, right? And even you could do return 0, right? But like if we look at this function, this like just this, right? The definition of the function, right? This kind of tells us that it will return a number, but it also does this, and we don't know it does that by just looking at the function, right? Like for example, in Purescript, in Purescript we could maybe if we said main with a function from which I know, and let's say it takes like a let's just do this, right? Let's say it just takes an integer or whatever. We don't need everything, right? So if we said this in Purescript, then like here we cannot do this, right? There's no function which can do this in this context, right? You know, like if we have a function from int to int, we can do like, we can return any number, we can do operations on the number, but like you cannot do anything else. Like we've seen this. So how do we do this in Purescript? Well, of course, there's a type which tells us that, okay, this function does side effects, right? Because the problem is that one important thing in Purescript is that you know that this function, if you call it once, right, it will give you a result. But if you call it twice, it should not matter if you call it twice or 100 times. You should always get the same thing. But then this function, if you call it twice, it gives you 0 2 times, and let's make it the same, right? It will give you 0 2 times, but then it will also print hello 2 times. Right, so you can actually know how many times it was called, whereas this one you cannot tell how many times it was called, right? By just looking at the result or whatever. And the same is with global variables, for example, because if you had a global variable here, you could read it here or mutate it here, and then you could return a different value, right? Like if we have some int value here, and then let's say we initialize it to 0, right? And then we'd say, okay, value equals value plus 1, and if, maybe here, right? Maybe return value plus, return value, right? So the first time we get 1, right? So then we get 2, then we get 3, etc., right? You'll find that that's impossible to write like this.
I noticed.
Okay, cool. Cool. So the idea is that the problem with this function is that just by looking at this function, like at this part, without reading the body of the function, it's impossible to tell that it actually uses an external global variable. Correct?
Yeah.
And like the problem with languages like this is that in order to understand what the program does, you need to read the entirety of its source code, pretty much.
Yeah, okay.
Right? You cannot just glance at a function and say, oh, okay, I know what that means. As you can do here, right? Here you kind of, okay, you don't know exactly what kind of operation happens there, but you know a lot of things. You know it won't read or write to a file. You know it won't read or write to a console. You know it will always give you the same result. So you have a lot of guarantees by just looking at this without reading the second line. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so enough introduction. Let's actually see what kind of things we can do with effects, right? So in Purescript, there's this thing. There's a type called effect.
Yeah.
Which is like it's a higher kind of type, right? So its type goes to type, right?
Yeah.
So we can say effects of int, for example, or effect of unit, or effect of maybe int, or whatever, right? These are all fully saturated types. Okay, cool. So then, given this type, we can basically do things that we would normally do as side effects in other languages. So, for example, we could say, let's say, write or greet, for example, right? It's an effect unit, right?
Yeah.
You can say log, and this is a function which exists in a you see that this like popped in here as soon as I press enter. We can say log hello world, right? Let's do this because we need to do this at some point, and then we need to import effect from somewhere, I guess from there, right? And then if we run this thing, right? So let's see. If we go to a terminal and then do spago, I guess we could just do REPL. Oh no, I think it's actually not trivial to run things in the REPL. Let me think, how can we do this? Spago, I think there's a command to actually allow us to run. What's an easiest way to that? Give me a second. I think there's a way to give it the same module. Oh, with the sum module default main. Okay, so spago run help. Oops. Let me make this. Oh, so it's main part 8.
Yeah.
And then I think it will tell me that I'm missing a main function here. Okay, so let's do this now. So let me add a main. And we'll keep changing the main, right? And then running it.
Okay.
I think that should work. There we go, right? And we get hello world. Okay, let me see if I can increase the font here. Should be able to. Oh, but it increases every. Yeah, okay, let's not do that. It's too big now. Okay. Right. I think it's still too big. Yeah, that's probably better. Okay, so this is basically using log, we can write things to console.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so now what is log then? What do you think log is?
It's I mean it's the print function, right?
Yeah, okay, right. So it's a function, that's the first thing, right? It's a function. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. How do I minimize this? Okay. It's a function. Okay, good. So what do you think the signature for log is? So if I were to write log, like what do you think it would be?
Okay. Well, log. Do I have to write the types here? Like, it would be from string.
Yep. That's very good.
To string. Am I missing something? Okay, so
it's okay. The input is string indeed, right? Because this is the input. So what's the result of this? What type is the result?
It's a function, right?
No.
Okay.
So okay, I'll tell you. It's effect unit. It's this, right? Because after we do this, it's
Okay.
literally this, right? So it's a
Yeah.
function from
Yeah.
to effect unit. So
Mhm.
effect is
Yeah.
the name of the monad. Hello, Lost Algorithm. Welcome. So effect is the name of the monad, right? It's the monad which allows us to do side effects. And then unit, if you remember, it's the type that has only one value, right? So this is telling us, okay, so this thing that goes from string to effect unit.
Yeah.
Hello, Christian. Basically does this thing where it's an effect, but it doesn't return any value. So basically it does something, but it doesn't give us back something, right? Because like, okay, I printed to console and it's like, okay, I'm done. That's what that unit means, right? It's completed. I've done the task, but like there's no meaningful information to give you back, right?
Yeah. Am I wrong, or is this like the void type in other languages?
Yes, exactly. That's actually a very good observation. That's exactly right. But note that there is a void type in Purescript, which is not like the void type in other languages. It's something entirely different.
Yeah.
But we'll it's the type that has, because unit has one value, right? One possible value that you return, whereas void has 0 values. So that's the difference. But when int like void main returns, it's a value, right? Even if it's not a useful value, it returns, right? Whereas void never exists.
Okay.
Good. So that's the type of log, right? And like if we look here, I think hopefully that's, oh well, we'll see the more complicated version. So is there an effect dot console? Is this the right one? Let's hover over this. Yeah, there we go, right. But cvoid is Purescript. Yeah, exactly. Cvoid is Purescript unit, and Purescript void is, I don't think there's anything in, maybe infinite loops is like the type of the infinite loop, but then you cannot type that in other languages. So yeah, anyway. Okay, but now the thing is, reading from console is a lot more complicated, and I think we can just try figuring that out together. Okay, so let's try doing that. So let's open the browser and go to Pursuit. And I guess now you should be watching the stream for a minute. Actually, no. Let me share my screen, because then you'll have a delay. So I'll just share my screen for a bit on Discord for you.
Yeah.
And like the stream will of course see my. So where is my VM? Can I just share the whole screen? There we go. Okay. So let me know once you're on, if you can see it.
Okay. So are you streaming right now on this?
Yeah, on Discord you should see it.
I don't think I have the privileges on this channel to watch streams.
How do I do that? Let me do this. How about now?
Yeah. Now it works.
Okay, so I was able to give you the role to be here. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. So can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then it so happens that I already know what the library name is. If you didn't know, that would be very hard for you to find out. It was actually hard for me to find as well. So it's called readline. The library, it's this one.
Okay.
It allows us to read stuff. Okay, so let's say that you know this is the library, right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, so let me maybe quickly explain what's here, because this is going to be a useful thing to learn how to read like other modules and libraries and see how they work, right? So okay, this thing is on GitHub, and this is the link to the repository on GitHub, so the source code. This is the person who uploaded it. This is when it was last published, and here you might find some documentation. This one obviously doesn't have documentation. Never trust this thing. Never use Bower.
Okay.
We use Spug always. Some modules are a bit older and they show the like old install instructions. So these are the dependencies. This is actually sometimes quite useful to look at, right? Because this can give you an idea of what this module does or what this library does by looking at, okay, what type of libraries does this library depend on, right?
Yeah.
Right. It depends on effect, on node stream and process, on prelude, on options and foreign, right? So just by looking here, you could get an idea of what it does or how it does things. Of course, this will be harder in the beginning, but just being mindful of this and just glancing over it every once in a while might help you later, like to start understanding. Okay, and then here on the right, you can see what modules exist in this library. This one only has one, but a lot of libraries have more than one module. This one only has a single module. So we can just click here. And once we clicked here, you see that we get the module documentation, right?
Yeah.
So here you get like all the types and functions that exist in this module. So what we see here, and you'll see here why we... yes, Pago, exactly. Is why I'm putting so much emphasis on types, or one of the reasons. Because here, sometimes there is some text explaining things, but usually there's not a lot of explanations here. But there are types, and there are functions. And as long as you're able to read this, then you don't even need documentation oftentimes.
Yeah.
Right? So, okay, let's go through the things here, right? So, okay, when you see something like this is data interface, right? It's a type.
Yeah.
But here we don't see any constructors, right? It's just this. So usually, let me show you a different example. So let's say, for example, list, right? It's something that you should be slightly familiar with.
Yeah.
So if it's a type like this, you'll see that it has constructors, right? So it's a list A and has a nil constructor and a const A list A constructor, which is exactly like the list we've created, right? And then it has instances like show, EQ, and ord, and semigroup, and monoid, and whatever, functors, and so on, right? A lot of different instances. But then if you see something like this where you don't have any constructors, it means that it means this cannot be constructed using constructors. So there has to exist a function which creates this for you.
Okay.
Right? Because like from a module, you can decide what you want to export or what you don't. And if you don't export constructors, it means that this is a bit trickier to create a value of this type. So they have probably some functions which help you do this. And even in the documentation, it actually tell you, okay, it can be created with a create interface function. Right? So it tells you here that there's a function that creates all of these things. Okay, cool. And then we have interface options, which again, these are option passed to create interface, right? So probably, but again, you cannot create something like this.
Yeah.
So again, there's probably a way to somehow grab interface options or create one using a different function. This is a type alias, right? So this is basically just a shorter name for a function from string to some more complicated thing, right? To an effect of whatever. We'll ignore this for now because we will not be needing it. Right, and then there's again a simpler, like a line handler of A means it's a function from string to effect A. Again, I don't think we'll use this, so it doesn't really matter right now. Okay, so then this is create interface, and this is one example of how we could create an interface. But then if you can see, so this one returns effect interface, right?
Yeah.
Like it needs some readable R, which we don't even know what this is. I don't know what this is, to be honest. But I could click on it, right? And I could find out. And then we give it some options, and then we get an effect interface. Okay, this, like we don't know what options is, we don't know what this is, and we don't know what this is. So maybe we keep looking, right? This looks a lot simpler, right? It only needs a completer, whatever that is. We don't know what this is, but we get an interface. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's keep in mind that maybe we look for a way to get a completer, right?
Okay. Is this completer the same like the one that was before? Like a bit
yeah, it's this type here,
okay,
but again, like we're not sure how to create this thing, right? For now.
Yeah.
We could guess, but let's keep looking. Okay, so completer, this again is an option, interface option completer. So it's not really a completer, it's like an option for a completer. Okay, but then look, like we find this, which says no completion is a completer.
Yeah.
Right, so we could just use this as a completer and pass it to the create console interface to get an interface inside an effect. Right? Okay, so let's keep that in mind. And then, okay, we have prompt, which prompts the user on the specified interface. And like if we have an interface, we get a new. Okay, so let's try using this function, see what happens, right?
Okay.
So let's go back to our code here. And let me see if I actually, because I don't remember if I added the package or not here. Yeah, okay, let's install the DAL language support, I guess. I'm not sure if I need to install the language server, probably. It might help. Anyway. Okay, so now let's go back to our Spago file. Okay, so now first thing is, so the library was called, let's scroll back, it's called node readline, right? Usually with Spago you need to remove the Purescript in front, right? So you just take this part without Purescript dash. And we just add it here, right? So comma and this. And we save and that's it. Okay, and now just to make sure it's installed, let's actually close these two terminals that I opened up by accident and do Spago build. And when we do Spago build, it will also try to install all the dependencies that we've added extra. So yeah, it's building a few things here. And let's see. Quite a few things here. There's surprisingly many dependencies for this library, actually. I didn't expect it to be this big. Okay, and it succeeded. Okay. So now it should be available here, although I want to make sure. So I'll do, where is it? Yeah, let's restart the IDE. And let's make sure it works by hovering over something. Yeah, it seems to be working. Okay, so let's try that thing again. So let's use do syntax and let me refresh your memory of how this works, right? So when we had maybes, let's look here, right? At the example with maybes in this other file.
I think it was the last one, but am I?
Yeah, here, right?
Yeah, okay.
So M1 was a maybe, right? Just a maybe value. And then OP1 was something that takes a value and returns a maybe. So basically what we need is like, and this works under maybe. Another effect is the same thing, right? So we have this, where is it? We have this function here, which is called create console interface, which needs a completer and it gives us an effect interface, right? And then we have that no completer, which is just a completer, right? So you could say something like, okay, so I want to, what was it? Create console interface, right?
Yeah.
With no completer, no completion, whatever, right? So this, if we hover on top of it, is a function from completer to effect interface, right? And this is a completer, so the result is an effect interface.
Yeah.
But if we do this, sorry, here, right? Then this is of type interface, not effect interface, right? Inside the do block, right? That's what this thing does, right? It gives us this thing here.
Yeah.
Okay, so now interface is an interface. Okay, and then if we go here, we have prompt, right? Which prompt takes an interface and then prompts the user for input. So I think, let's see what this does, because I'm not even sure what this does. We need to also prompt as the user for like import this thing. Okay, and then let's do, ooh, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, so let me create. Okay, let's do this. Let's rename this to input or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this now, right? Instead, just so we keep this here. Okay, so now let's do Spago run part 8. What? Spago. What was it? Main, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we can type stuff, but nothing happens.
Yeah.
Right, so that's what this thing does, right? That's what prompt does.
Yeah.
Right, if you have an empty interface, you just like, okay, you read some things, but nothing happens, right? Okay, so let's go back here and see like what else can we do, right? So you could set the line handler. But I think the simplest thing we can do is we can use this function question instead of prompt. So let's try to read this thing and see what this does, right? Okay, so it takes a string, right? Which is probably the question that you get, right? The like it gives you, okay, how old are you, right? The question or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like pick a number or whatever, right? Like the prompt. And then it takes an interface, which you already have, right?
Yeah.
And it returns a unit, but then there's this thing, right? So it takes a function from a string to an effect unit.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like if you've ever used callbacks, this is exactly a callback.
Okay.
Right? Because like whenever a user types something, right?
Yeah.
Like what happens is this function is called, and this is what the user typed, and this is what you do with whatever the user typed. Right? So let's try to do that, right? So instead of prompt, let's do question. Then let's do pick a number, for example, right?
Yeah.
And then let's do like let's call the function handler, and we'll define it later, and then we pass it the interface. Right? That was the thing that we need, right? First is the question, the handler, and then the interface. Okay. And here we can say where handler is a function from string to effect unit, exactly like we have to, right? And then, for example, what can we do here? Well, I mean, for initially we could just say pure unit, right? So this means don't do anything.
Okay.
Right, so we have a handler which doesn't do anything, but we should get this question, like pick a number. So let's see what happens now. And again, I'm not very sure what will happen, because I've not played with this library too much. But like we get pick a number, right? And let's say we type 1, 2, 3. But then again, nothing happens, right? We're still stuck here. Okay. So let's see, what can we do here, right? So for example, let's say we get the number or the like string, right? So let's look here, like what could we do here? We could from the user for input, no. What's output? Okay, nothing too interesting. Okay, so for example, we could I mean, we could even use the log function to say log string. Let's see what happens in this case, right? So what if we write it back? What happens there? Right, we just get back whatever we're typing. Right, and it stopped now. Well, did that work only the first time?
Yeah, it did.
Okay, so it only works the first time. Okay, cool. But we're still stuck in this like mode, right, where we read and write things. So I think in order to stop, we need to do close, right? So for example, we could do this, then close interface. Actually, this I don't think this will work, but this is a good example here. So right, let's say you want to close the interface here, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But can you see what the problem is?
Let me check. Unknown value interface. No.
So the thing is, interface exists here, but here is a different, a different scope. So it doesn't exist here, right? We don't know what interface is. So the way to fix this, and I will not be mean and ask you what you think the solution is, because this is it's easy once you know it, but it's hard to figure it out yourself, right? Like how do we give handler an interface? Well, we literally just give it, right? We just pass it along, and this is an interface here, and that's all.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
Okay, well, this one made sense. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right, because like this needs an interface. Well, just give it the interface, right? Yeah. That's it. It's nothing. It's not too hard, right? And then like since like if you apply one argument, then like it's still a function after we apply one more argument, right? So we just need to add one more like argument here. Yeah. Oh yeah, so yeah, Christoph is exactly right. So like this is not really like the reason why this is a weird kind of interface, and like okay, let me not use the word interface, like a weird API, or like if these functions seem weird, they are weird. This is not how you do Purescript usually, but like this is how it works on Node.js, right? We're using JavaScript, using Node.js, and this is how the underlying library works, right? So we just have to work around it, and this is one of the tools that we can do in FP to work around it, right? We can pass values around, and it's not too hard to do, right? And now if we run it again, we should be able to like write this, and then we exit, right? Because we closed it, and then everything stops. Okay, so let's see. I mean, okay, so but in here, for example, we could do something like we could do something funny. We could do question, right? We could ask another question, right? Pick another number, and again, pick another thing because they're not real numbers because we're not even checking them, right?
Yeah.
And we can do also handler interface.
Yeah.
And then we don't need to ever close it. Right, so we're kind of like recursing here, if you see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here like now we could do this and then this and then now it goes forever.
Okay.
Right, because like okay, this is where we start, but this is where we go back to the same thing, right? Yeah. Cool. And then like now we need to Control C or whatever, right, to close this because there's no way to exit. Okay, so do you want to try to write the like game where we create a random number and then the user has to guess it?
Okay.
Should we do that, or like do you have another idea? We could like, okay, so the plan for today is to show you this sort of function, so like question and interface and log, because like with this you can write and read from like console, right?
Yeah.
And I was also thinking that we might do things with files, like reading a file and writing a file, but we don't have to do that.
Sure, it's up to you. I mean, I'm really enjoying these lessons.
So yeah, I was thinking like one. Okay, so I think, how do we parse a number to? I think we should have a string to int function. So yeah, so for example, we could try something like actually making this a bit more complicated, right? And the guess the number game. Well, the computer tells you if it's higher or lower, and then you try to guess it.
Yeah.
Let's try to do that first.
Okay.
So we'll keep this, right, with pick a number as the way to go in, right? So I guess we can start by changing the code here, right?
Yeah, it's the handler that has to be changed first, right? Because the top part makes sense so far.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess like it doesn't make sense to write it again right here.
Yeah.
So okay, the way I usually write programs, I think of like I like to think about them from top to bottom level, right? So let's think about so the problem is having to handwrite CPS stuff. If you're willing to throw F into the I know I actually looked at F, but I thought that it might we'll do F some other time, I think. But I know the F interface looks better. I'm familiar with it. I actually used it in my in a project. Int from string, yeah, exactly. We're going to use that. So anyway, so what are the high level steps that do you think we need to use to do in handler?
Well, okay. So just give me 1 second, please.
No, you don't have to write code. Let's just talk first.
No, I'm not writing.
Okay.
Just click. So first of all, we have to check. We have to generate the number, right? The random number.
I was thinking we'll generate it here. So okay, that's a good idea. Okay, so maybe generate number, and maybe we do this here, and then we pass it to the handler so it knows it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's make it simple. Let number. Let's do this for now.
Okay.
And then so let's do generate it randomly, right? And we'll figure that later. Okay, so then what do we need to do now? Well, we pass it here, right? So we need to write it here.
Yeah.
So then this is a number, secret number, right? It's here. Okay, so what's next?
Next, we have to compare the number that he introduces with the number that we generated. right?
Okay, but we have it as a string, so we kind of need to like convert it and then. Okay, but let's say it's okay. Check, but that's good. So check if input is equal to number, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And okay, so and then
So what's the next thing?
if it isn't, then we need to check if it's higher or lower.
So okay, maybe let's do this. Okay, so if it's lower, say lower. If it's higher, say well, it's the other way around. We'll say higher, right?
Yeah.
So and if it's equal, stop, something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So then what I usually
shouldn't the equal stop be here, like in this line, or?
I mean, it depends. It's usually easier to not do that, I think.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I know. Yeah, this is the close, kind of like...
Okay, so let's see. We have... Okay, so check if the input is equal to number, right? So I guess we'll have a result here, right? We'll like comparison result.
Yeah.
So, okay, checking if a number is equal to another number, do you think that's a, like, okay, what kind of, so, okay, let me write this, right? And then num and str, right?
Yeah.
Or like, how should I put it? Check inputs, right? Let's call it like that. Okay, so let's add it a function here, right?
Check input.
So what are the types here? So what's num? What type is num?
No, it takes an int.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And
it also takes a string.
Okay, and what does it return?
It returns a boolean. No, wait, no, not a boolean, because it doesn't return. It also returns a string, right?
So let me tell you, the simplest way here, and this is something that we've only used once, I think, is ordering is what we really want. Because if you remember, ordering is the thing that has GT, EQ, and LT.
Yeah.
Right, for greater, equal, and lower. That's exactly what we want, right? We want to see if it's greater, lower, or if they're equal, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have like our number and our string. Okay, so so I'll tell you that compare, right, is the function that's taking, it works on numbers. For example, we're going to want to compare them as numbers, right?
Yeah. So we have to show the string.
Well, no, it's the reverse, right? Because show. So what does show do? Show goes from int to string.
Yeah.
But we kind of want the other way around, right? We want to go from int to string. So that's where. So actually, Christoph already gave us the name of the function. It's from string, right? So let's look at it on Pursuit here. So it's a function from string to maybe int. Ooh. Do you know why that is? Can you guess why it's maybe int and not int?
Because it can be an int, but it can also not be an int.
Yeah. It could be an empty string. It could be a letter or like words or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do that. So we have a number here, right? But we have how should we do this? So we have, let's say, the guess, which is the current number, is int dot from string of str, right?
Yeah.
And guess is of type maybe int.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a maybe int. So can you guess? So this is maybe int, right? And this is int.
Yeah.
So can you guess how can we use this here? Because this is a maybe, not an int.
Okay. Well,
and I guess
the first thing that comes to mind, can I create something with like a constructor with just and
so pattern matching, right? It would be your first guess. So let's try that, right? So how do we do that? So it's case guess of, right?
Yeah.
And if it's just guess prime, I guess, then we can just do this, right?
Yeah.
Guess prime, and we can return it, and that's fine, right?
Yeah.
But, like, what do we do in this case?
Nothing. Um, I mean, this just means that it's not a number, right? So what what do I return? Like,
Exactly.
please.
So here, like, since we have to return an ordering, which is only one of these three, right? It's kind of like, okay, we need something else to return, right? Because if we return GT or LT, then it will not be the correct thing, right? So that should tell us that this is not a good enough type to return here.
Okay.
Right?
So can I can I do this?
Yeah, that's exactly. I was actually going to say it, but I'm very happy you interrupted, because you're right. That's it. So can you make it type check now? The rest of the things?
Okay, so if it's nothing, then
okay.
Okay. Well, what should it return? Because my okay, so what my heart is telling me is to just say, but I know that.
But not there, right? Because, like, okay, so what are the possible values of maybe ordering? So of ordering are these ones, right?
Yeah.
Of maybe ordering, what are the possible values?
It can be GT, QLD, or nothing.
Well, it could be this, right? This, and you're right, and nothing, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what can we return here?
Nothing.
Yep, exactly, right? And then at some point, of course, we will pattern match on this nothing, and then tell the user, okay, you have not entered a number, right? Okay, another problem is that compare num guess gives us GT, EQ, or LT, which is not a maybe, it's just an ordering. So we need to also fix this part.
Yeah, well, okay, 1 second. I mean, do I still
Yep, exactly. And you can either parenthesize everything or do a $sign here, or just the parenthesis is the same thing, right? I'll just do the $sign. Okay, so now this thing would type check if we would have imported the maybe type, which we'll do it right now, and also the just and nothing constructors. Yeah, okay, the error here is that we're not passing the number and the string, right? The number, rather. Okay, cool. So now here we have this check input thing, right? But this is a maybe, right? So because it's not an effect and this thing runs in the effect, we have to use let, right? So this is like maybe compare result or something.
Yeah.
Equals to this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now how do we how do we do the next thing, right? How do we do something in like what can you do? The compare result.
We go for the cases again.
Yep, exactly, right? So we do. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, I don't.
Okay. No. So here, sorry. So I'm sorry.
This is just case.
Yeah, this is just case, and you have to put it like exactly next to let.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So case m compare result of. Okay, so what are the cases?
Well, the case is it's wait, which one is it? I mean, the 4 cases.
Okay, so it's a maybe. Right? Yeah, exactly. It's these 4 cases, right? So like whatever order, just pick one, and let's start with that one, I guess.
Do I have to pattern match this one? I don't think I do, but.
Okay. I mean, you can just do like. So give me 1 second. No, that will not work. So okay, you need to do something like just GT, right?
Oh, okay.
Because this is a maybe, right? And then you need this thing, right? Okay, so if it's greater, what does it mean? So it means that num, right, is greater than string, than what user. So I guess that means they need to actually say greater, right? So like you need to do a greater number. Wait, no. So what do we need to do here? We said that we need to say something, right?
Yeah. That's what I wanted to ask you. Do I have to print here?
Yeah, like do like log or something, like log, and then say greater or whatever, right? Or bigger, or exactly. Yeah, whatever. That's good enough. Yep.
Okay. Do I have to parenthesize in log? I don't think so, because I remember
it's just
example. Okay.
Okay, that's good. So next
Uh,
case.
it's just equal,
Okay.
and we
Okay. Good.
okay, and
Okay.
okay, and now
No. So this is just nothing, right? Not. Okay.
what?
It's like it's just
Yeah,
nothing,
okay.
but not just
It,
nothing. Yeah.
without the just, yeah,
Yeah.
got it. Okay.
This is
Um,
just nothing. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. So and then add. Okay. So this is
okay,
like
so
we tell the user what happened, right, with his number, what the result is.
yeah,
Um,
do
okay.
I have
So
to do something more here, like where I just ask
so
him to pick a
first
number
thing I
again?
want to point out is that while we were thinking about what to do, we forgot about this case.
Yeah,
But then
yeah,
because we started implementing this and we saw that, oh wait, what do I do because of this? What do I do here? We have a nothing. Well, we need that case. And then just by looking at the types without even running the program, we realized that we're missing a case, and then we added it. And that's one of
yeah,
the like strengths of having strong types, right? Because like you can realize that you're writing the wrong program without even testing it, right? Just
yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay, cool. So okay, so if we were to run this program now, which by the way compiles, so we could run it, what
yeah,
happens? Well, we check the number, right? We tell the
yeah,
user whatever, then we log it for whatever reason. So I guess we can delete this line, right? Because this is not really important
yeah,
anymore. And then whatever happens, even if the user wins, we still have him continue. I mean, let's just see if it works, right? First, because that's
yeah.
reasonable for now. So let's see, if we
Okay.
pick 11, it tells us that it has to be bigger, right? And if we do 66, it tells us that it's lower. And if we do 42, it tells us congratulations, but we still have to continue, right? And if we
Yeah.
give it a like something that's not a number, it tells us not a number. So it works,
Yeah.
except that once this is, we need to exit here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not even 100% sure how to do that, but we can try. So do you remember we used this function here called, where was it? Let me go
The
back.
close one? Or what?
Yeah. Was it close? Oh, you have way better memory than I. Yeah, okay, close. So we could try to do log and then close here, right? So the way we do that, so what's log? Log is an effect unit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we could just add a do block here, right? And say this and then close interface.
Ah,
Right?
okay.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure. So I think after you do this, it will still try to call this, which
Okay.
is probably going to give us an error. So let's see if that happens. I'm even curious. So okay, let's do 42. Yeah, at some point it just crashes because it's already closed. So right, that's it's currently not working anymore. Okay. So this is obviously not ideal, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think we should do it?
I'm thinking about it, but nothing comes to mind. Mm,
So one way to do it would be, so
yeah.
there's two options I think here. One would be, well, we could make each of these a do block as well, right? And copy this in all three places here
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
instead of
mm-hmm.
doing it at the end every time. I think that should work. Let's test it out. I can probably do that. And that's reasonable. Like, especially now at the beginning, we don't have to over-engineer things, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see if that works. I'm not even sure that will work, but we can see. Okay, so let's do 42, and yeah, it just exits,
it
right?
works. Okay.
So we can even do the wrong thing a lot of times, and at the end it just exits. Another option would have been to keep it as it was before, but instead of closing the interface, there are functions to exit the program, I think, right? I think there should be an exit function. Yeah, exit, right? So we could have used exit instead, right? And then like it would not reach this line because it will literally exit here.
Okay.
But I think this is just fine anyway.
Okay. So how would you call the exit? Like, instead of close, you just say exit? Like this?
Well, so let's look at exit. So exit is a function which takes an integer and then returns an effect unit. So interface is an interface, not an integer.
Yeah. So it would be like the exit number, like the.
Sure, but like normally in most programs the exit code is like the code that goes back to the shell or to whatever we call this program, and usually use 0 for successful exit and 1 for like an error or a different number for an error. Okay. Right, so it's usually just exit 0 is what you do, and yeah, we need to import it, and I think it should work all the same. Right, we can do whatever, and then 42, and then it exits.
Okay, right. Okay. Yeah. I forgot about the. Yeah, okay. I just couldn't understand why there was an integer there. And yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. My bad. Which one? Okay.
Yeah, we can keep that as well. That's fine. We can even say here, or just exit 0. We can keep it here, right?
Yeah.
As an as a separate example. Let me how do I do this? Like this, I guess. Okay, so what else can we do here that's interesting in this function? Oh, we didn't do the random. Do you want to do the random as well?
The random,
because like we have 42, we don't have a random number here.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is also okay. So I'm not sure how we managed to do this, but like this function, like this library for like with the interface and like question and so on, is not something that's very nice. It's a bit awkward to use, and then randoms also are slightly a bit awkward to use.
Okay.
I think it's monads gen to get randoms, but then we need to import this to get a random number using this. But I think there's the only implementation that's easy to find is in quick check for whatever reason. I think there's an instance here. Yeah. Which is something that took me like half an hour to find last time I searched for it. So I would not. Okay, let me explain for a second, right? So monad gen is a type class, kind of like all the other type classes, like ord or eq or whatever, right? It's a type class, right?
Yeah.
And it has this function which is called choose_int, right? And this, so you give it the smallest number to try, the biggest number, and then it will generate you a number between this and this, right?
Yeah.
It could be equal to either, right? Because it's like an inclusive range, right? So it could be equal to the lowest or to biggest.
Yeah.
Okay, and you get back this m, which m is of type monad gen, right? So you get an m int.
Yeah.
Right, but if you scroll down, you'll find that there are no instances defined here.
Yeah.
So like, okay, what can m be? Well, you don't know, right? And then there's this different library called quickcheck, which is something that we'll probably talk about in some time, but not yet. It's a way to write tests, but it's not very simple. We'll talk about it at some other time. And it has this type which is gen a.
Yeah.
And this has a monad gen instance.
Yeah.
Right. So that means that we can basically create a value of type gen and use this over gen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's see.
If I recall correctly, I think there were some examples like this in the article that you sent me, but I couldn't really wrap my head.
Cool.
My head around those. Yeah.
Okay, so is there a way to get a gen that's already like a random gen? Perturb generator eval run shuffle. Yeah, there isn't even a way to. I was hoping there's. Okay, where's the random seed? Okay, is there a... Hmm. Okay, so how do you get a... How do you create a new gen to begin with? Variant, no. Resize, choose one of frequency. Oh, okay, this maybe? But it's just for numbers. We kind of want it to... Like, we need a gen for ints, I think. Well, I mean, I guess we could map a function from number to int here over this. Yeah, I guess we could just use that. Although, how does this even work? Wouldn't it have the wouldn't it always have the same seed? Or is there some function here to change the seed? Variant. Huh. I literally set this up like a few months ago, but I don't remember how it worked. So I think I looked up how to grab, but then it's so weird that it doesn't have a simple constructor. Oh, okay, there we go. Oh, we can just use this, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get a gen int. So, oh, and then we need to eval it. Okay. So then state. Oh, so we need to pass some state. Oh, and then that was the problem. We need to find a way to generate this state randomly. Or we could just do this and grab the first number because we're lazy today. Yeah, I think we'll do that.
Okay.
Okay, so we could use this one. Yeah, okay. Okay, so the plan is like this. We use this function, choosInt, from this library, right?
Yeah.
And we give it like, okay, because we don't want it to be like any numbers, right? Let's say a number between 0 and 100 or like 1,000 or whatever, right? So we just put these numbers here and we get a gen int, right? And then using that gen int, we pass it to this function, random sample, which gives us like 10 values, right?
Yeah.
Like we give it here and then we get an effect with an array of 10 numbers. And then we just take the first one and whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So we need to import this library, which is QuickCheck, right? So let's add QuickCheck here. Okay. Let's do spago build here just so we build it. Okay. So now let's try to write it, right? So let's look again. What were the functions? Well, first was choosInt, right? From here.
Yeah.
This one, right? Okay. So you could say something like, where was our number here? Okay. So gen equals choosInt, which is this version of, like we said, from 0 to, let's say 1 to 1,000 or whatever, right? Okay. And then we have this thing, right? The random sample. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can say random sample. So this one's a gen, right? So this is no longer with equals, because this is an effect, right? So then we need to do this sort of thing with it, right? So this is the array of values, right? And here we need to like pick one item from the array. So let's see. Let's look at functions again. And if you don't know, for example, okay, so where are functions that use array? And that's in Purescript arrays. And then we can look here. Okay, what functions can we use with arrays, right? Like how can we get a value from an array, right? So for example, there's head, right? So which but we get a maybe, right? Because the array could be empty.
Yeah.
Right, so we could say something like let number equals to case array, well, case head array of, right? And if it's nothing, then we just do 42, whatever, right? And if it's just value, then value, right? And now we can delete this number and everything should be compiling. What's the problem here? Oh, okay, I know what the problem is. Spaces.
Yeah.
Okay, and now it should work. So let's try it out. So run. Okay, so let's try guessing it lower. Lower. Okay, whatever. I'm not going to. Okay. Okay.
Did it choose 42?
Oh, did it? Okay, it chose 42. Interesting.
Yeah.
So did it not work? Was the array empty? That's interesting. I mean, one thing we could do here quite easily, since this is one of the benefits of working inside effect, is we could just print it. Log show array or something. Okay. Oh, it's not. It's definitely not an empty array, right? You can see it here. So is it 239? Okay. Oh, so was it really just an accident?
It was just luck. Yeah.
There's no way.
Okay.
What? Are you serious?
What if you go for 42 now? Does it say anything?
Wait, maybe. No.
No, it was. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's insane.
There's no way that maybe it just ran an old version. It didn't compile. Maybe I didn't save the file. I think that's more likely. I think I might have not saved the file. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it does work, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And again, randoms are always a bit tricky. Yeah. Okay, so let's have a quick look at how to work with files, maybe as well.
Okay.
Although I think that's also a bit awkward. It turns out that things that are effectful are sometimes a bit awkward. File, let's see. Not web file, should be something with node. Node buffer, I don't think that's the one. No. So what's the library which deals with files? Well, okay, I don't think we want the idiomatic versions. Buffer, FS, I think. From file system. So, okay, are the sync functions reasonable here? Rename, truncate, chmod, stack, link, read, real, and link. Read text. Okay, yeah, it's reasonable. Okay, so this version, which is the synchronous file system, which means that no callbacks, right? It's just you wait for things to complete. This is easier to use. The async module probably has callbacks, right? Which is a bit more awkward to use. So let's not worry about that. Let's just use this one. And we'll do it some other time, like the whole callback thing and AF and things like that. So what is this? Just a Okay, so file path is string, right? So whenever you see file path, it's just a string. It's just a different name for strings, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back. So for example, what do you think this thing does? This function. You can look at the stream again.
I was looking at the stream on Twitch, not on Discord. That's why I was a bit behind. Yeah. Rename. Okay, so it renames the file. Okay.
So like the first one is the original name and then the new name, right?
I mean, it's just under the function. It renames the file.
Okay, it's just probably not things that are really that interesting. Statistics, linking, read links, real path. So this is removing, this is making a new directory. So let's do let's read the file. Yeah, like a read text file. Okay, so let's read, for example, let's read the spago.dal file because it's a text file, right? Okay, so let's do read the spago file, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so let's do.
So we take the. Yeah.
So I don't think we have this text. Yeah, we don't have it. So first thing is we need to add this to the dependencies of spago here, right? So it's node-fs. Oops. Okay, that doesn't work. Whatever. Okay, so now does it I wonder if it builds it now, or do I need to do it manually? Yeah, I think I might need to use spago build myself. Okay, doing a bit of building. Oh, it failed because this, right? So we don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, read text file. There we go, right? And we have it now. Okay, we need to figure out which one is this sync.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, I mean, you can just look at the imports then, right? And if they are wrong, then we can just change the imports manually or whatever. It's not always easy to read that. Okay. So the first argument is encoding. So how do you think we can figure out what encoding is?
Is it like the .txt?
Well, not really, but we can just click on this type and see what happens, right? For what it is. So okay, it's either ASCII or UTF or binary or hex or whatever, right?
Okay.
So I think I think it should be safe to just say it's ASCII. Although UTF, I think UTF is also should be fine. I think. I'll probably start with ASCII though. I don't think that file has any special characters anyway in it. So encoding.as. Yeah, we could do this probably. Okay.
And then what was next?
Oh, let's look here, right?
It was file path. Okay.
So I think we could just do spago.dal here because it already looks in the current directory. So okay, this results in a string, right? So file is this, right? Then let's do log file just so we can look at it, and then pure unit. Although log file is just a unit, so you can just do this, right? Okay, so let's see if this works now.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yeah. Like even the comment in the beginning. So yeah, it does work, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and we can also do write text file. I mean, you can try writing a file, right?
Yeah.
So let's say again, which one is it? We don't know.
The first one, probably.
It's the second one. Of course, it's the second one.
Okay.
Okay, and then so what's the inputs? Well, encoding, right? So we could use the same one.
Yeah.
And then the second one is the file path. So let's
Yeah.
do spago copy.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just do the same file as the input.
Yeah, okay.
And then let's remove the log. And let's run it. And we've essentially created a copy file
Spago
program.
copy, yeah.
Where is it? Spago copy.
It's the
There we
second
go.
to last,
Right?
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
works. It's the same thing, right? So like if we add like two inputs here with like string and string,
Yeah.
and then do this, and then call it like spago and spago copy, then we essentially implement this is copy file, right? We implemented like copy file. I can delete this.
Okay.
Right.
So now if you run it.
It should do the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there we go. We have it here, right?
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
Maybe it would be interesting to say, how do we pass arguments to this, to the command, right? So how do we read these from like the console?
Yeah.
Like for example, but I'm not sure how to pass arguments with spago run. Let's see. Because okay, these are node arguments. Then before. And then I'm also not sure how to read arguments from the program.
Okay.
Is there any other interesting? Is it like Haskell? I don't know, because that's how like Cabal and like Stack work, but I'm not sure it's the same with Purescript. It might be. Let me see. So, environment. Where would we find the create buffer? Maybe. So I'm not looking for things, maybe OS, maybe no, probably not path, maybe process. I'm just opening libraries that I think are reasonable places where environment could be in. Platform process is probably not this one, I guess. Yeah, probably not this one. On exit, oh, not specific arguments. No. Oh, there we go. It's actually here. I didn't expect it to be here, but I guess it's here. Yeah, these are different things, and then yeah, this is different. Okay, cool. So this is the one. So it's not process or okay. So okay, let's look at this function. So this is an effect, right?
Yeah.
Which just has an array of strings, which is like essentially I think means the arguments that you pass here, right? So for example, if we write this and then we do this, then this will be the first string and this will be the second string.
Yeah.
I think. So we could try here, right? So for example, copy is something of effect unit. So we could try something like do here, right? And we could say, okay, so actually we have this, right? Where we don't need to import it. So it's like arguments here, right? So okay, let's think about this. So okay, you have argument which is okay, where lists, well, array string, right?
Yeah.
And then we have the function head, I guess. Or no, let's not use head. Let's use a different function. Arrays. Okay, there we go. So let's see. Can we find a function here which helps us? Because we need to take two items, not just one, right? Because head will only give us the first item. So it's head, and you could use tail, but is there a... Yeah, it's index, right? So we could do index 0 and index 1, for example, right? To take the first and the second. But again, they're both maybes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can use index 0, and index 1 to get the first two, right?
Yeah.
But like they're both maybes, right? So I need to be careful. Like index 1 arguments, right? Okay, and then if both of these are just, right?
Yeah.
Then we need to call this with those values, right? With those strings. And if
Mhm.
they're not, we just print an error or something, right?
Yeah.
And then I want to call like copy here instead of doing this.
Yeah.
So do you think you want to try that?
I can try it. But,
So again, like you need to use these two things, which are both maybes, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And somehow try to like get the values and call this function somehow. Yeah. Or actually, like,
Okay.
do you need like a 5-minute break or something?
A break? No,
If you
I
want, if
don't
you
need
need
a.
one. Okay,
No,
then
no.
maybe. Okay, so do you want to try it? And I need to go to the bathroom for like 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Do you
yeah,
want to
sure.
try it
Works
while?
out fine.
Okay, then I'll be right back.
Mhm. Okay, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. The syntax is kind of killing me in Purescript. Mm, I mean, it's it looks hard for me now, but as soon as he comes back and he starts explaining to me how it should do, how I should have done it, then it's gonna make sense. It's gonna look easy. But seeing it for the first time kind of boggles my mind. Mm,
Okay, I'm back.
okay, so I was just telling the chat that it it looks hard now, but as soon as you come back and you explain to me what I should do, then it's gonna make sense and it's gonna look easy. But
Okay, so like the easiest thing we could do here is we could do case index 0 arguments.
okay, so
Sorry, like this, right? So you could just pattern match here, for example, right?
yeah.
And like if you have both, we can just do read spago a1 a2, or maybe we should just call them s1 and s2.
Yeah.
Right, because like this is a maybe, this is a maybe, right?
Yeah.
But the result here is an effect, right? Effect unit.
Mm-hmm.
And like in any other case, we just do like log or something.
Okay.
I think they should be right. Okay, except we need to like import the correct index function. Huh? Oh, is it the other way around? Yeah, it is. Right, so this is one way we could do it. Let me think. Another way, if we okay, other ways are too awkward, so they like applicative could be something that we could use, but then we need like we would have needed transformers or something, so that's not interesting. Like that's yeah, I would probably never use that. I would probably just write this. Pretty much always. Okay, so let's try to copy like Spago to. Let's see if this works, and it doesn't. So I guess this is not how you pass arguments. Wonder if it's even possible to pass arguments to the program. So these are not. Is it? I think that's something different, but yeah. I'm not sure how to pass arguments. Actually, I need to. Okay, so it's not node args. It's none of this. Oh no, this has to Pure's compile. Yeah, actually, I'm not sure if it's even possible. Like we could. Part 8, I guess. So we could, for example, go here and run index with node and then pass it the files like think that should work. Did it put it there? No.
No.
Although I think. Oh, there's a lot of things here. Think this file doesn't automatically call its main. So it doesn't. Yeah, like it has a main function, but it doesn't also call it. Okay, so we could just do this, for example, here. It will probably work. Probably.
Okay.
What? Hello? I have no idea what happened there. Did it create a file? No, it didn't.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not even sure if this works. I'll have to ask. Because I guess passing arguments is a bit trickier with Spago. Yeah, okay, I'll read up and tell you next time how to do this.
Okay.
For now, ignore this part.
Okay.
Okay, this does not quite work. Okay. I guess it might be possible that you cannot do it with Spago, and then I'm not even sure if there are easy ways to create executables like this. Like I don't need to. I don't want to. Well, okay. So let me think. We could probably do this to create an executable. Then okay. So we could do bundle up, main being part 8, to test.js, I think. And then we could probably run test.js. So node test.js, and it should tell us that it doesn't have files. Why doesn't it do that? It should tell us this. What? I think I might have killed the VM, or at least Visual Studio. No, Visual Studio.
Yeah, it blocked for me. I'm not seeing anything anymore. I mean, I am seeing, but it's just blocked.
I think Visual Studio kind of died. RIP Visual Studio. Let's reopen. Okay. So let's try building it again. Okay, so this shouldn't be... Okay. And then it should just call the main, which should be just copy. Which should just do this thing, which shouldn't do anything weird. Wait, but that doesn't... So
Can I join again? Wait.
Oh, sorry, you got disconnected? Sorry, let me...
yeah, it killed it for me
let
too.
me share it. One more time.
Session is not active.
Yeah, I think it changed. Let me share it again. Let me find you. Yeah, there we go, the new link. Meanwhile, I'll read up on this thing. So how does this thing work? The node. So node, script, and arguments. Well, yeah, but when I did this, it literally replaced index.j. Oh, I think I know what the problem is. Yeah, we actually broke the code. Okay, so instead of doing this, let's do log arguments. Let's do this and let's build it again. Because I think the 0th argument is the file name itself, or node or whatever. So let's do. Are you connected now?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's the test.js. So do you see what our array is when you run it like this?
Yeah, snap node 3168.
So it was what it was doing is it was copying the node, the program node's binary texts, like binary contents, on top of our test.js file, right? And we actually wanted to do it like spago.dol and spago copy or whatever, new.dol, right? So we actually need to use like 0, 1, 2, and 3 rather than 0 and 1. We need 2 and 3 here.
Yeah, okay,
right?
got it.
So that was the problem. So we need like 2 here and we need 3 here. And now we can build it again with like spago bundle app module part 8, 2, and test.js, which that's the output file. And now we can run test.js with like spago and spago new, and then we get the spago new file.
Oh, it created it, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, we figured it out. It does work now. Never mind, it works. Okay. But again, like it's good that you can always log stuff right now and you can test them. Although I guess the like for now you'll probably write like the programs you'll be writing from now will probably be a lot of effect because that will feel natural. But you should probably try to resist that as much as you can and do as little code in effect as possible.
Okay.
Because then, okay, so what's the problem if you only have effect functions? Then you also don't know what they do, right? Because like this thing could do literally anything. Like this copy function has the same signature as log and the same signature as write text file with like some arguments attached to it, and the same as the close interface, the same as exit, the same as like there's so many things that effect unit could mean, right? It could like go on a website and read some data from there and print it to the console or whatever, right? So like the idea is it's this is useful, but it should be used in as few places as possible, like effects.
Okay.
Just when you absolutely need it. Okay, so we've played with files, we've played with like arguments now, and we learned that arguments start from 2.
Okay.
So I think in most, like even in C, it starts like 0 is the program you're currently running, right? 0 is the name of your current program. But then since this is Node running a JavaScript file, then it sort of makes sense. 0 is Node, 1 is the JavaScript file, and then 2 is actually your first argument.
Yeah.
And so on. Okay. So I guess now the question. So let's use the rest of the time to think about homework, because now you can start doing things that are at least a bit more interesting. So did you think about what sort of thing you'd like to, like a small example program that you'd like to work on?
You, sorry, you asked me to think about an API. So,
Okay.
isn't that what you asked me last time?
I don't remember why, but okay, go on. What's the idea?
Okay.
Maybe I'll remember where I was going.
Wait, I'm pretty sure like in part 5
Mm-hmm.
or something along that part, you told me that once we get like part 8 or 9 or maybe 10, we can start writing code, and I can think of an API that we can do.
I was thinking like an API, and then we can call an API and then do something with the results or something, right? Was that the idea? Do you recall? Or you're not sure?
Wait.
Maybe that was the anyway. So okay, did you think of an API or?
I mean, can I like use a? Okay, so this is a long shot.
Okay.
But can I take like a trading platform and play around with the prices of certain, companies or something like that, like eToro or?
Yeah, that's something we can do.
Okay. If you have examples that would help me learn better,
No.
I'm
That's a
open.
good example. So like, but okay. So in order for us to be able to do that, we need to. So in order for us to do APIs, we essentially need to look at how we get data from APIs, right?
Yeah,
So
I
let's
think
look
you
at
need an
simple.
API key, right? Or am I wrong?
Maybe, but like first, even if we have an API, because I think some of them might be just literally just open. You might not even need a key, right?
Huh, okay.
So let's
I
look
don't
at
know
simple.
what to choose so that it's also interesting for the people who are watching.
Who cares about them? Okay, so let's see. This is okay. So but this is after you've gotten the result back, right? So was there some simple like web thing? Let's see. Simple Ajax, is that the thing that I'm looking for? Well, no, because Ajax is just in the browser, isn't it? Okay. Oh, yeah. I always forget that this library has, like, for whatever reason, he decided to give me credit for some idea here. But I think this only works with, like, I don't think this works with Node. Unless Ajax works with Node. I don't think this works with Node. Does anybody know in chat what's the like library to use to do like HTTP requests from Node? Because this might be okay. So there's an HTTP client here, which is probably also a terrible Node low-level protocol like library. Request as stream. Okay, so what's a response? So where's the response? Oh, as a stream. So readable. Oof. Yeah, we don't want. This is going to be terrible to work with. Okay, not this.
Okay. Oh yeah. Can I ask you one thing after you're done with
Sure.
this?
No, you
When
can
you
ask now.
have time, just I'm gonna can I link something in chat? I don't get banned if I link something,
No,
right?
go ahead.
Okay. Is this the book you are talking about? Because I forgot about it.
I think this is the right link. So what I usually do is I just go to purescript.org, and then there's a this Purescript by example book. So I just clicked here, and it takes me to book.purescript.org. So that's the correct link.
Okay, because I want to catch up with where we are.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea. So the thing is, like, Purescript is mostly used in the browser and not so much on the server side, right? And now we're not doing anything in the browser because that was easier until now to do, right? The problem being that doing a request like that, I'm not even sure which libraries can do that.
We don't have to do what I said. We can just choose something you think would be easier.
I mean, we kind of want to do something like that, even if it's not that. I still like to do. So what's this? Oh, I think this is just like generic types. Yeah, no. I think this is a server. Okay, is this? I think this is old though. I don't think this has been updated. Oh, and it's only servers. Okay, no. Awkward. I'll try to figure out if there is a good client nodes HTTP client library.
Okay.
But that means I cannot show you now, and then that means we cannot have homework around that. What can we do? So okay, let's forget the API for a second. Maybe for next time we can. We can think about that. Oops, I didn't mean to go to this VM. Okay, so let me have another look at the plan maybe. So the plan is we've done some effects now, but we need to do we need to start building. Yeah, we need to start building a real program.
Okay.
So the thing with programs in web browsers is that they need to use some API, so you also need a server, so that's going to be harder. We need a lot more work around to do that. So I still want to do a console sort of application. Right, but I think okay, so the idea is I like to build a console application. So let's see, what example should? Okay, so let's try to do something with simple JSON then, because I think that's going to be fun. So let me add simple JSON here. Hello. Okay, so let's write this down, and then let's try playing with simple JSON. Because this is one of the places where you can really see the power of Purescript, I think.
Okay.
So what was the difference between E? So E is either multiple errors, and A and F is except multiple errors. Okay, so we want the E version because that's simpler. Okay, so we want read JSON. Okay, so do we have any JSON files here? We don't. So let's create a simple JSON file. So are you familiar with the JSON file format? Somewhat?
No.
Okay, so let's do.
But I can get myself accustomed to it.
Okay, so usually a JSON looks like this. It's like this thing. It always starts like this, and then you can have keys for example, from and to, and then it could be okay, right? Let's just have this as a format for now, right? Okay. So then let's see. Let's create a type that looks like that in Purescript, right? So how would that look? Well, it's file format. Let's call it for now equals to, and what does it have? Well, it has this from, which is a string, right? And a to, which is also string.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? It looks exactly like our type, right? Okay. So now let's read the file. So let's do copy prime, a new version of copy, right? So let's say that instead of reading them from command line arguments, we want to read the to and from this file when we do the copy. Does that make sense? So we want to read them from here instead of from like here. So I could do something like, what was the name of the function? Read JSON. Well, okay, no, first thing is we need to read the file, right? So where is the read file? Here, right? So we can do read file, right? But instead of source, we have this like file.json, right? This thing. Did I move it to? Let's move it to here. Move. Yes. Okay. Good. Right. And this is like the content, like JSON as string, right? And now we have like read JSON. Oh, we didn't build. Okay. And then we need to restart, I think. Okay. Still, okay, there we go. Read JSON. Yeah, we need a simple version. Oops. This one. And we need to give it a string, and it gives us an EA. So what's E? E is either some errors or the value A, right? So it either can read this JSON and give us the type A that we want, right? Or it can give us errors, whatever, right? So I can say case this JSON off, right?
Yeah.
And we have, well, it's either left of some error, right? Or right with our type, right? So from and to. And here we could do like copy from to. And then of course we need to import left and right. So what's copy? Oh, it's not copy, it's reads. Okay, we need to rename this thing. I mean, how do I move this thing? Okay, there we go. Copy file, let's rename it as. Oh. Okay, so I have it as copy file, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the problem here? Did we need to do something special here? I didn't think so. Usage. No, we shouldn't. So why is it complaining about? Oh, because it doesn't know which instance I'm using. How can I tell it that I'm using this one? We could do it like this, or maybe, okay, maybe we could do it like this instead. So right now the problem is it doesn't know that what I'm parsing. It knows that I want to parse a from and a to, but I could have other things there, right? So I need to tell it, okay, I want to only parse these things. So I could tell this that I want it to be of type. Could I just do this and then file format? Would this work? Yeah, it does. That's awesome.
Okay.
So this basically means I don't care what's here. Like this is some either with some errors, whatever, but I want the right hand side to be file format. Right, and if you just tell it this, then okay, then you just want this, right? Nothing else here. So then it works. So here we can say copy prime instead. right? And now it will take the file names from here instead of from the console, right? And it will read these two things, right?
Okay.
So let's test it. Bundle. Maybe I should like copy these things here, just so. Oops. And Node.js, I guess. Okay, and now we should have like new here, right? But like now we could just remove new and put 2 here, and when we run it again, we'll have new 2 here, right? Okay, so that's the idea. So what I want you to do for next time.
Yeah.
So let's do homework. Okay. So that's how you run. Okay, so now. First thing that I want you to do is add from to and to and in play or right? Does that make sense? So like add here from to and to with 2 different sources, right? Like 2 more fields here. Are still there? Okay. And then like write a function like this which copies like this, but it also copies from to, right? Right? Does that make sense? Because like it's basically 2 files instead of 1, right? Copy A to B and C to D or whatever, right? Okay. And then like you say basically need to like a different version of copy, which does a bit more. Okay. Write a new version of copy prompt, which when the program starts, it asks for a file name using question, right? The thing that we did in the beginning. Remember? Okay. Then it asks for a second file name, then copies first to second. After that is done, it will stop. Let's do the easy thing, right? So it's kind of the same idea here, except it's just 1 file, but you take it from the console, right? You ask the user what to do, and then you do it. Okay, right. So let's see, what else can we do here? Okay, create a new type like what's the name here? File format, which holds an array of 2 strings to and from. And copies all pairs. Right, so like you have something like the JSON looks like. I'll show you the JSON since you're not familiar with JSON, right?
Yeah.
Well, actually, let me just write the file, file2.json, and you can copy it from here, right? I'll just create a new file here right now. Okay, so it will be like this. Except it will be an array well, okay, we can't have just an array. Good thing that I opened this. So we need the files, which should be an array. Let's do it like this, where we have an object here like this, right? Oops. Okay. Oh, we have. Okay, let's do this. And then another object here like this maybe, where it's like also Spago, but okay, so it's kind of like 2, but then like you have as many as you want here, right? So let's maybe do one with 3, right?
Yeah.
So figure out how this would look like as a type, right? Try to translate this to a type. Like this should be an array, and then this should be similar to that, right? So it shouldn't be too hard. Okay, let me move file to here. Okay, like to the root here. Okay, yeah, and then you just need to implement the same thing. You have to copy, but you have to copy like this to this, this to this, this to this, and like this could be different. Like so, we might do like new 2 to new 3 or something, right? They don't have to be the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Add globbing support. No, let's not do that. Okay, and then something a bit more complicated, but not that complicated. So let's say we go to Node.fs and we take a look at this module. Let me give you the link here. So I'll put the link here to the module just so you have it handy. So this like you can do rename here. So okay, so write a program that uses question to allow users to. Okay, so first select a file name, right? So you type a file name, then select an action such as copy, rename, and okay, and link deletes a file for whatever reason. Rename or delete. For copy, ask for destination. For rename, ask for new name, right? For delete, ask for confirmation, right? Are you sure? Yes, no. So for example, when you start the program, you get something like this. Pick a file, right?
Yeah.
And then you write, I don't know, like file.json, right? Yeah, exactly. And then the program will be like, what to do? C, R, or D, right? Create, rename, or delete, right?
Yep.
And then you say, for example, copy, right? And you say copy. Okay, copy. Where to, right? And then you see file2.json or copy. And then it says done, and then exits. Right? And then if you run it again, you can do rename, and it will ask you where to, or delete, and it will, are you sure? Yes or no, whatever, right? Just pick something. Yeah. This is not hard, but it's long, right? There's going to be some ifs, some things like that, right? So you'll have to try and figure it out. Again, if you get stuck, ask. But please try to do try to start as soon as possible, just to do like one problem at least, like the first one. And if you get stuck, try to run it, right? You have to run them. So if something doesn't work when you're trying to run them, then just ask me, right? It's probably something that you've make sure you have the Spago, the doll file, like mine here, because this has all the libraries you need. And make sure you have everything, and make sure you can run them. Like even try to just run the current program like we have now and see if it works. right?
Yeah.
And if that works, then we should be good. Because so yeah, try to figure out errors, try to read errors, and see how they work and so on, right? Because that's going to be important. And then for next time, I think so. Yeah, we're gonna figure it next time. Okay, so if you have an idea of what, again, if you can think of a program you want to do next time, like a console program.
Yeah.
Again, we can. I'll try to figure out if there's a good library to do API calls on the from the server side.
Yeah.
Because that would be a bit more interesting, right? Because we can interact with some external APIs.
Yeah. I don't mind waiting, but I mean, I remember that's what you told me like a couple of lessons ago. So, I don't mind if we wait or we prolong like you say, the boring part.
Oh no, but I think it's important that
me.
that you start writing some code, right? Some like
Yeah.
and actually try to compile it and try to run it and like debug it. Like you saw me, like, hey, if something doesn't work, do log, right? You have log now, so you can print stuff out, you can see why it's not working and so on, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's very important, because then it's like you kind of have understand some things, but then if you don't actually use them and you don't try to compile and don't get like hit your head against the compilers, then yeah, you need to do that at some point, right? So
yeah,
better earlier than later. So yeah, I think that's the thing. And then next time we'll try to yeah, I mean, what another thing that we could do is we could do the one thing we could do, for example, is we could like write a simple program which acts like a I don't know, like some sort of personal calendar or whatever, right? Where you can add like things there, like reminders or whatever, and then we can read them later, right?
Yeah.
Like we create a JSON file, and then we do like, okay, you can say add reminder for, and then you add a date there or whatever, and then you say give me my reminders or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's an example, right? Or we could have like notes or I don't know, like a list of things or multiple list of things, or like some sort of like database that we can control from a command line. And if you have a specific idea of something that you think is interesting, we can definitely do that. But yeah, we'll see next time. Okay. I'll do a commit now, just to like that, just so these things are also on GitHub. Yeah, let's do the commit and push. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today. So again, I always ask you if you have any questions, but I know it's hard to have questions. You'll probably have questions next time.
Yeah, not yet.
But yeah, I mean that's effect, right? That's like effect allows you to actually do things, right? Read files and do things that are other than like playing with constructors and pattern matching, right? Because remember when we're like before we started doing effect, like what can you do here? And the answer was, well, you can only pattern match or call a function or whatever, right? But here in effect, you need that question doesn't even make sense, because you can do almost anything in effect. Right? Like you can log, you can write to, like you can do console stuff, you can do files, you can do web requests, you could do database requests, you can do pretty much anything. You can shut down your computer if you want, in fact. Right? So yeah, you can call other programs, right? You can do anything. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, again, thank you for doing this, and I'll see you next week, I guess.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for watching, guys. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye-bye.